Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I'm doing good. I know you like that. How long you been back, man? I see the girls in the club, they getting wild for me. And all the pretty chicks all wanna smile at me. These rap cats, man, they all got this style for me. And if I ever see them, man, they probably bow to me. And when this beat drop, I know they gon' lean. World debut, I know they gon' fame. Everything Mississippi to the Palm Springs. Girls from brunettes down to blonde queens. These young boys don't know what a Don mean. I'm just a bad boy gone clean. I'm the diamond chain choker, always remain sober. Don't drink liquor and all the game's over. Need a plane, I explained it to my broker. 3 box in the hood, top down, and ain't over. You know there's more men where that comes.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jose Bouquet, and of course, joined alongside I actually don't have a comparison for you today, Andrew, because there literally hasn't been any interesting stuff happening. So I'm going to go back to the Tony Clark to my Rob Manfred. It's Andrew Santangelo. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much. It finally looks like we're gonna. I mean, whether it's forced or not, it looks like we're finally gonna have some baseball and ready to talk about some of that. And also, as you are educating me on these 30 for 30s, excited to dive into the bow one.
Yes. We have a pretty packed show for everyone today. We've got baseball returning, kind of, sort of, not really. Who knows? Returning. We're getting it officially, which is nice. And we've got the 30 for 30 review. Like I said, we're getting Andrew caught up to date on all of his sports documentary knowledge, and I'm glad to be doing it. I'm glad to make that sacrifice, Andrew. But before we get into all of that, Andrew, how is we talk, or I've been, like I said, we're trying to get you back into the documentary game, the sports documentary game, and I want to know, Andrew, how is your favorite sports documentary? I say in quotes, Sunderland Till I Die.
It's very good. I have not watched it again since the last time I texted you, which was Saturday or Sunday, I believe. So I'm still on episode 5, but it's. For those who don't know, I take a very long time to get through any show, really. You can ask Jose that. It kind of drives him crazy at times. But it's fun to learn all this different stuff, especially never being like a diehard soccer fan, kind of learning all the different ins and outs of this team, and excited to keep going and hopefully eventually finishing it up. Who knows when?
Yeah, it's a good time. Andrew, I just want to alert you to something. We have some not really breaking news, but breaking news as we're on right now. Multiple people, your Jeff Passons, your Ken Rosenthal's, and all these good people have tweeted that the MLBPA has informed MLB players that they will report to spring training, wherever their spring training may be, on July 1st. And July 24th is officially opening day of the baseball season. 60 games and 66 days. By far the shortest baseball season we've ever had. It's not officially done yet. They're still doing some minor rule stuff, and they're figuring out the health protocol things. So that's obviously going to be a hurdle. But all signs are pointing that this is going to happen. So, Andrew, let's live in the reality in which baseball is back for us, Andrew. What do you think? Think about it, Andrew. Tell me, what are your thoughts?
I'm excited. I mean, I know 60 games isn't ideal. It could have been a lot better if they would have just knew how to negotiate rather than going through all that drama from this past month or so. And I know last week we talked about whether it would be a tainted championship or not. You think it is. I'm not on that side of it just yet, at least. So I think it was important to get it done. It's not technically done because the MLB kind of forced it. They never really came to an agreement. So that side's disappointing because it's still not going to help out come to the end of the next CBA agreement. But you know what? When it's all said and done, as frustrated it is, you're not going to keep me away from the game just because there's 60 games. So I'll have it on opening day. I'll have it on pretty much, I'm sure, pretty close to all 60 games, especially for the Phillies and other teams. And a couple rules here and there are kind of disappointing. I think the expanded playoffs would have been cool, but that's not happening this year. So they're sticking with 10 teams. I was a little disappointed they couldn't get that done. So something like that, I feel like they still could have got done, especially because the more playoff teams could have got them more money back. So it's kind of interesting that they're not going to do that. And then obviously you're a fan of, I'm not the biggest fan, but the universal DH will be interesting and brings a little extra offense in that sense. And so it's going to be a weird season, but I'm ready for it. And I think a lot of other fans are ready for to be able to watch something.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun having it back. It's hilarious that they come back before basketball, I believe. I don't know exactly when basketball comes, what day, but I think they still beat out basketball, which, like I said, is funny. Multiple teams are going to have spring training at their own places. I don't know if that's league mandated yet. I'm pretty sure the Red Sox are going to have spring training at Fenway. I think the Yankees and both the Yankees and Mets are going to do spring training in New York. So that'll be interesting. Andrew, this is, like I said earlier, this is by far the shortest baseball season ever we're going to have. We'll still be watching, but a lot of people have been alienated from this sport due to the muddy waters and all this negotiating. What do you think the long-term impact of all of this is going to be?
I think it's a bad in terms of first off both sides negotiating in the MLBPA and the MLB themselves. I think it's a huge negative sign. I think it's created a bigger mess for the future, and we might be going down. I think we're going to be going down the same path after it ends in December of 2021, which will create a very difficult time for fans again, because who knows if they're going to be able to start on time in 2022. But in terms of fans, I think fans are frustrated. I mean, outside of traditional fans, obviously traditional fans will get back out there and watch from game one, but it's going to take a lot for the sport to make up what they're about to lose, because you know that there's a lot of fans that are frustrated with both sides throughout this whole thing. And I mean, you go to Twitter, you see it. I mean, there's a lot of fans that were just like, it's whatever. It's an implemented season. It's a 4 season. I don't really care that it's coming back. And I think it's going to take a pretty big hit this summer. And again, you don't have, we talked about the McGuire and Sosa documentary last week. You don't have that to save the game this time. So I'm really interested to see how the MLB is able to go about it and try to save the game, because I do think it's going to have a pretty significant impact on the viewers at least the next year or two, if not more.
Yeah, it's tough. People are saying that it's going to fall behind hockey and the 4 major sports and soccer and stuff like that. And it very well could. We won't know the impact of all of this really until we actually get into stadiums again, and so we can see attendance numbers. Because I don't really put that much stock into the viewing numbers. So we'll see if attendance drops. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if this is going to work, Andrew. I don't know if this short season is going to be really beneficial. It might be fun, but I hope that we don't make this like a permanent thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing that scares me is, like, we gotta remember, like you mentioned, you don't want to take too much from the numbers on the viewership and stuff, because you gotta remember, like, this season there's not going to be fans. So one, there's going to be no attendance. So the viewership should technically, quote unquote, have a pretty big rise, because if you're kicking out 40, or I know every team doesn't get it, but some stadiums 40,000, but I think the average attendance is probably around 25 to 30,000. So you're kicking out, thousands of people that essentially who'd be going to the game theoretically should be putting on their TV now to watch the game. So theoretically, there should be a pretty big spike in viewership. I mean, obviously, it'll be interesting to see when the stadiums do back open up. Who knows when that will be for fans to go to, where the viewership will be at in that sense. Maybe come playoff time, we'll see. But, like, that's where I think the league might get fooled on some of these rules. Like, they're going to be like, oh, it's helping the game, where in reality, like, it's the viewership's going up because you got I guess if you add it all up, you'll have millions more people not able to go to the game, so they'll be watching the game on TV. So of course the TV ratings will go up at least.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope the TV ratings are good or acceptable because that'll mean that all this wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe we do get big numbers just because it will be like the first major sport, I guess, back in the United States. Like I said, I haven't looked up the NBA date,
Yeah,
but
NBA is coming back July 30th, I believe, will be the first game.
yeah, well, so fuck them. Yeah, we got them. We beat them there. But yeah, so I hope this turns out well. Um, we'll next week while we do our documentary breakdowns, we got to start breaking down each team now for this 60 game reality. Let's see, talk about who benefits from a 60 games because we talked about it last week. If we took 60 games from last year and just took those playoff teams, the Nationals would have finished, I believe, almost last in the division. So we'll see what happens. Maybe your Phillies can get a nice little bounce from this, Andrew.
AFOs the last couple of years have been, I think, the last 2 or 3 years they've been playoff teams through 60 games and then have had huge dropouts. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And like you said, we got to dive back into it. And I mean, I remember before this all happened, we started going through each division. Who knows where we left off? But I miss those
Yeah,
days when we
well,
thought we had it. I miss those days when we thought we had a season.
yeah, I know, right? Now we have to redo it again, but now we have a 60 game sprint. I do think the 60 games will be fun, though, Andrew. It'll be fun in that standpoint. We hear complaints about 162 games, which is too long, and quite frankly, I agree. Honestly, my idea would be 100 games, but a 60 games will be fun. Like a 3 game, 4 game, 5 game losing streak and this compressed tight season is gonna hurt teams. It's gonna hurt teams a lot. And your 7 day DLs for concussions and your 14-day DLs for like a strained hamstring will hurt now.
Absolutely, and that's where it's going to really come into play with pitching because you don't want to throw your pitcher's arms out before the playoffs and stuff. So you better have a good bullpen this year. And I know they'll have the quote unquote taxi rosters this year, so you'll have a couple extra guys to kind of sub in and out if someone does get hurt. But like the bullpens are going to be pretty worn down by the end of this year. I think, like you mentioned, 60 games in 66 days. So I mean, you do the math. That's only 6 off days. So like I'm interested to see if some teams will try like a 6-man rotation at different points in the early going of the season before it kind of comes down to crunch time. Because again, you don't want to wear your guys' arms out, and I've heard multiple pitchers talk about before. It's gonna be a tough time to see. Or pitchers have said they're gonna have a tough time going past like the 4th or 5th inning because of how the spring training to the layoff to the second spring training and not having a full month to kind of get back into things. You're not going to see pitchers going like 7, 8 innings every night anymore. So again, huge relies majorly on that bullpen.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight. Andrew, I know you mentioned the rule changes earlier, correct?
There are a couple, yes.
Yes, Andrew. How about you? I don't know if you read the list because maybe I'm deaf and I don't remember something. But can you go down that list of changes that the league is going through or thinking about going through again? And if there's any that you particularly don't like, because I know there definitely is, why don't you share with us with which ones like and which one you don't like?
Okay, so again, so obviously the first rule or rules would be 162 down to 60 games. The season's going to start around July 24th, as you mentioned, spring training July 1st. The biggest rule change, I believe, would be the universal DH. I am not a fan of, but hey, it's better than no baseball, so I'm willing to make the change in that end. And then another rule change that is pretty much going to go into effect. It's a matter of how big of a degree it's going to go in. It's something I saw you tweet about alongside I did as well, was the extra inning rule where you're going to have a runner start on second base and in the 10th inning or later, and he will start on second base, and that gives the team a better chance to obviously get a run there with runner on second, nobody out to start the inning. And then also there's a possibility that games could end in ties this year. The runner on second base is most likely. The ties are still a question mark. So let's get your thoughts on that first.
Yeah, that's garbage. That's not no. Andrew, I've seen it done in the minor leagues. It makes them more interesting. It makes them more intense, and for the purposes of shortening the games, because the MLB has said that they don't want long games going over like 15 innings. I guess it'll work, but that's just so lame. Like what is that? Are we just gonna have ghost runners next? Like what is this? I'm just not. I'm not in for it. I'm not in for it. The universal DH, of course, I'm in for. My favorite player is a DH. I don't like seeing pitchers hit. There's nothing very exciting about seeing pitchers hit. So I'll be glad that we get to see more professional baseball players with the ability to drive the ball out of the field, get at bats. That's just me, Andrew.
Yeah, and I'm a big traditionalist when it comes to baseball, so I'd like to see the regular strategy side of things. But again, I'm open to the change just to get baseball in now, but it's only for 2020 this year. So
Yes.
it was originally expected to expand into 2021 season, but this year now it's just going to be for the 2020 season. So I am a fan of that. Maybe we'll see how it goes.
No expanded playoffs yet either, correct?
Correct. No expanded playoffs this year, so the playoff format will be the same. Which I was kind of looking forward to the expanded playoffs. I thought that kind of would have been cool, especially in a shortened year where, again, you have so many teams bouncing around in 60 games. So, like, I think it would have been a good idea to get that expanded playoffs. So I'm a little disappointed in that not getting done.
Yeah, that was the players not wanting to give up that leverage right there, which I understand, but that's tough. I did wanted to see that as well. Would have been fun. Would have been. I mean, it's better when a lot of teams get in the playoffs. It makes it more exciting. That's why people watch the playoff baseball, all this good stuff. I have a couple more rules that they're thinking about. Andrew, you want to hear them?
Absolutely. Whether I like them now will be interesting.
No limits on players pitching. So there's that. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yes. Pitchers can have a wet rag in their pocket as a substitute for licking their fingers. Okay. All right.
That's an interesting one because you're gonna get like if I don't know, I feel like the balls have become more wet now, and you're gonna get a lot of the spitball kind of throwback pitches, kind of.
I'm all set there. I'm all set there. Why don't we just let people lick their finger, get the grip or whatever? Maybe more rosin out there. That's just weird. And the 3 batter minimum is still in effect, by the way. So
Yeah, that's annoying. I hate that rule already.
those rules are out there. They're gonna happen. Hopefully, we get to see some expanded playoffs. Andrew, do you have any final thoughts about baseball returning officially?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing to this point that would hold it back is all the health concerns, obviously, and that's the final step at trying to get this done because the health concerns aren't finished, and that's where it's going to also bring a lot of different stuff too, which is going to be weird. Like I don't know if you saw this, but the traditional habits, you know how big baseball players are and spitting and everything. Well, there's no spitting, chewing of tobacco or sunflower seeds or any like combination of whatever, like or what other possibilities, kind of like sunflower seeds or chewing tobacco there is.
The chewing tobacco part, dipping, that's wild. That is insane. That they're not letting them dip because what is baseball without dipping, Andrew?
Well, I mean, just what is baseball without any of those? If you think about it,
Yeah,
like how many times a game does a player spit? Like I know it sounds crazy to just talk about, but like just by instinct, like I don't know what the punishment's going to be. Where I mean, because it's going to happen just off instinct. I mean, these guys have been playing this game for 20 to 30 years, depending on how old they are, and I mean, you've been spitting since like day one of when you started playing the game in Little League.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like this is gonna be so weird to watch. We're gonna be watching games in empty stands. They're probably gonna pipe in the crowd noise. I wouldn't be surprised. It's worked for soccer. I don't know. I kind of like watching all these sports without the crowd noise. I like hearing the audio. Maybe I hope that teams take advantage of the emptiness and they use it like they use a stadium for certain things like that Korean baseball team that has the backstop full of like teddy bears and like
That's hilarious.
yeah, like I want shit like that. I want shit like that. I want like computer screens on the seats and their fans watching from there. That would be cool. I want something like some variety. Let's get creative. Let's do some more mic'd up. Let's do all of that shit.
Yeah, I think that'd be a big thing for marketing purposes too, is that they can mic up some of the players just to add extra excitement
Yeah, they're
and
gonna
things
have to
like
throw
that.
some bones. They're gonna have to throw the fans
Yeah,
some
they got,
bones here because they've really fucked around with us for a while now. So
but
they've
see,
got to come back hot here.
That's the problem. They gotta have creativity, but like I don't trust the guy in charge is the issue.
No, of
But
course not. Manfred, I think Manfred is comfortably the fourth best commissioner now. I think he's taken Bettman's spot.
absolutely, I agree with that. I think Batman's aced kind of this whole thing, and I don't know about ace, but it's done a lot better. So it's kind of put him over the top, and Manfred's looked horrible. And then going off your one point real quick, you know who will be sitting in the stands though through these games? I don't know if you saw this. Players and other team personnel who's not participating in the game are going to be sitting in the stands.
What team would I want to get hired by? What team is near me? The Diamondbacks of Arizona. I was thinking Houston, but if I don't want to do that, Arlington, the Rangers. Guys, if you guys want to hire me, I'll be a great team official. I'll do a lot of team officialing. I'll sit in the stands. I'll look good, all that stuff. I don't. Some players, the soccer players, have been doing that. They've been sitting in the stands like scattered throughout. They're not that far apart though. They're not like literally like the whole stand, so I don't really mind it. But it's gonna be weird for baseball because if we're gonna track foul balls in the empty stands and we're just gonna watch players like avoiding foul balls, catching stuff, that would be interesting.
Well, speaking about that, it's gonna be crazy to see how many baseballs they go through per game. I don't know. They also said this: every time multiple players touch it in a play, they're gonna change the ball. So like, just think about it. Just a ball hit off the wall. You're gonna have the outfielder throw it to the cutoff guy into the second base, whoever's covering second or third, back to the pitcher, and then the ball's got to get changed or like whatever. Like I mean, the ball touches two people right off the bat from the pitcher and catcher and stuff. So it's gonna be pretty wild how many baseballs they go through this year.
Yeah, and they already go through a shitload of baseball, so it'll be funny to see. So I'm glad that we got to talk about it, Andrew. I'm glad baseball is back, one way or another. Hopefully this doesn't happen again in a year or so because we're gonna do this literally all over again, and hopefully the free agents from this year don't get screwed by owners, but they probably will. So I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be fun, hopefully, and hopefully we get these health guidelines in order, and maybe we can play some baseball this year, Andrew.
I definitely hope so because I mean, obviously, you've probably seen some players have gotten it recently, just working out. Like
They've had to shut down facilities and
yeah,
everything like that. So that's not ideal, whatsoever. But you know what is ideal, Andrew? Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson is the ideal human being, and this 30 for 30 encapsulated everything we need to know about Bo Jackson into a nice, I believe it was like an hour and a half package. One of my favorite 30 for 30s. I'll start by asking you this pretty simple question, Andrew, but is Bo Jackson the greatest athlete of all time? Because I fucking think so, Andrew.
oh yeah, without question. I mean, there's no way to say otherwise. Because to play these two sports at the same time, to physically just get done right away the baseball season, go straight to football with no training camp or anything, and just dive right into the game. And I mean, that's just incredible in itself. And they talked about it. I think the first year he did it, they said he sat out the first game before he kind of like dove into the second game and kind of went off in that end. But
yeah,
so I think
for the Raiders.
What was it?
For the Raiders, correct? Football game?
Yeah, it was Raiders. He sat out the first game with the Raiders just to kind of get the feel after and then jumped into it the second game. And obviously was pretty successful with it.
Yeah, so we watched this You Don't Know Bo, if you guys have never heard of it, 30 for 30. It goes through the life of Bo Jackson, basically, from his mythic beginnings. Oh my God, I don't remember where he was born. I don't know if it was Mississippi or Alabama. But he was born in the South, grew up throwing. Doesn't even matter what he was throwing. He was constantly throwing things, having crabapple wars, and then developed into, like Andrew said, one of the greatest, if not the greatest athlete of all time. He went to Auburn, dominated there, beat Alabama in one of the most historic Iron Bowls ever. Everyone knows Bo over the top. Did you, of all the documentaries you've seen, Andrew, all the sports documentaries, you told me this was really good and you enjoyed it. How good was it in your mind, though? Was this your favorite one of your 30 for 30s?
Yes, I really do think it was definitely one of my favorites. Definitely top 2 or 3. I'm trying to think. It would probably, yeah, it's definitely out of 30 for 30s, it's definitely my favorite. I mean, out of all sports documentaries, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I mean, all of them, but without question, it's up there. I thought it did a fantastic job portraying his before his kind of playing days, from high school all the way to his retirement and everything, and going through all of his whole career. It was just fantastic. I thought they did. We mentioned not enough interviews in the Sosa McGuire one. I thought they aced all the interviews. They had his high school coaches on there, his college coaches, uh, teammates, players he played against, and I thought overall it was they did everything very well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the animations to describe players and show us situations. I really enjoyed one of the most rewatchable parts of this documentary is in the very beginning where they're not even talking. They haven't even showed Bo Jackson yet. They're just talking about him, and all of these like coaches and random people throughout his life are just explaining all these mythic things that he's done. He's thrown apples through doors. He's jumped over 40-foot lakes or rivers or creeks or whatever. He dunked a stick in 8th grade. He threw a ball and hit a scoreboard from the field and all this stuff, and he just continues to grow and grow and grow, and you finally get to see Bo Jackson, and then all the videos for everything he was doing is ridiculous. And my favorite part of the documentary, probably of all, you can really summarize Bo Jackson as a person, was when he finishes his senior year of football. He starts playing senior year of Auburn baseball. He's dominating. He's doing his thing. He takes a trip to Tampa Bay on the owner's jet or plane or whatever. The Tampa Bay Bucks said that they cleared it with the NCAA, all this stuff. So he went, took a tour, blah blah blah, normal pre-draft stuff. Well, when Bo Jackson was going to his next game, basically his coach was like, "Hey, the NCAA just ruled you ineligible because you went on this guy's plane and all this draft recruiting visits, blah blah blah." And Bo Jackson's basically like, "Well, fuck the Bucks. I'm not going to go play for them now." He told the Bucks owner straight up, "If you draft me, you're going to waste a pick." And guess what? The Bucks drafted him with the number 1 overall pick, and he said, "Screw them," and went signed with the Royals in the 4th round of the MLB draft, and went and played baseball basically just on pride, which is crazy. That summarizes really Bo Jackson. He basically had a choice as an athlete, which is something you don't see. Like he literally just told the NFL to shove it. He would have been the highest paid player in NFL history, and decided to go play AA baseball.
Yeah, and like, how about I can't believe, like, imagine being that Tampa Bay team, like, and doing that to a kid and ruining it. Like, they knew what they were doing, and ruining his senior year at baseball, because he said it in his interview. They got word with how hot of a start he got out to it. He said he was batting over 400 at the time, through basically 2 months of the season almost at that point in the college season. So they got worried that he was gonna skip out on the draft and go baseball. So they tried to make him ineligible and hurt his baseball draft stock, which it did, because it put him down to the 4th round pick before Kansas City decided to take the chance.
Yeah, it's crazy. Could you imagine being a fan of the Bucks and just like he comes out and says like, "I will not play for you guys if you draft me," and then they're like, "Let's draft him with the number 1 pick anyways," and then he just tells them that's crazy. And then after a year of baseball, basically he's dominating. He becomes an all-star. He's the most exciting baseball player probably there in 1985. The Raiders and Al Davis come knocking on his door and say, "Hey, you interested in football still?" They draft him in the 7th round of the next year's draft, which is wild to me. I don't really understand how he can get drafted twice, but whatever, it's fine, it's cool. He gets drafted, goes to the Raiders, like you said, sits out his first game, and then basically takes the job of Marcus Allen, one of the top 10 running backs of all time, and puts him on the back burner.
Yeah, and that's like you said, real quick. I was surprised too. I thought after he would have been drafted, he would have been like a free agent. I didn't know he could re-get drafted. So that was definitely shocking to me when they said that.
I thought they were gonna have to trade him, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's because that's what Patriots had to do with Gronk. I mean, I know it's different. He retired, but when he came back, they started trading. It's funny, the Buccaneers. So yeah, I was surprised that they were able to draft him. But imagine being Marcus Allen there in that situation, top 10 running back, and I mean, obviously it's for one of the best running backs in the game, but he get kicked out after being that good for for that time in Oakland, and
And
you
it
think,
wasn't even close. Like Bo Jackson was just so physically just like gifted, just so fast, like just faster than everyone, running over people because he's gigantic. He's Derrick Henry with like 4.2 speed.
yeah, I mean, talk about how fast he is. Look at his first career MLB hit. I mean, basically a routine ground ball to second, where the second baseman had to kind of go a little bit to his left, but in reality, it was pretty much just a routine ground ball that the 30 for 30 even alluded to. Like most people are getting thrown out, and the guy's halfway down the line, maybe. But Bo Jackson finds a way to beat it out because of his speed. I mean, I know that's not the same sport, but like that just shows how quick he is getting down the line like that.
Oh yeah, and I don't think he was right-handed too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right-handed hitter. Like he
So,
had to get up the line. And the best part about that story is too that he said his first major league at bat from Phillies pitcher Steve Carlton. You know him, legend, probably one of the greatest Phillies pitchers of all time, I believe, right, Andrew?
absolutely, probably the greatest, honestly. I mean,
He hits a ball, scorches one over the foul pole, and they call it foul when allegedly it could have been a home run. And that's crazy. He hits that and then gets on base like that. It's so crazy. And he has this just like it wasn't even 4 years, Andrew. His NFL career was not even 4 years. So imagine right now, this is the last year we'll see of Saquon Barkley. That's basically what we're getting because I believe Barkley's about to go into his 4th year.
yeah, I didn't even think of it when you put it like that.
So we don't get Saquon Barkley anymore, and this is Saquon Barkley, literally the best running back maybe anyone's ever seen now. And he's gone because his devastating injury, I guess. I don't really know how to label it, but he's running up the sidelines. He could have stepped out of bounds. He doesn't. He goes through some guys. A Bengal grabs onto his leg, and he's so strong that he drags the Bengal, but in the process of it, he pulls his hip out of socket, dislocates his hip, and then pops it back into place when he's on the ground. But there's a blood vessel that gets cut in the process. His hip's all fucked up. He's bleeding in there internally, and he has to get a hip replacement. And he wasn't. I don't believe he wasn't. He for sure wasn't 30. I believe he was 28 when it happened too.
Yeah, that's something I wrote down as well. Like, what took me by surprise is I think when they brought on his doctor, I think it was they had his personal, I don't know, his personal doctor or whatever, but the one that kind of diagnosed the injury, they brought him on, and he literally said on the 30 for 30, if it's any other running back, this injury doesn't happen, and it's probably just a normal tackle but like you said, because of how powerful he was, it kind of pushed that extra like drug the extra player there and kind of pushed his hip out of place like that. So I thought that was amazing. That just shows how strong and powerful this guy was in this game. Because again, if it was any other running back, they said it probably would have just been a normal football play and no injury would have happened.
Literally, the doctors did not believe Bo Jackson when he was like, guys, I think my hip just popped in and out of place. He's like, that's impossible. What are you talking about, Bo? And that's insane. We haven't even talked about the various highlights before then. We haven't talked about the All-Star game. He was in one of the most star-studded All-Star games out there. Leads off, hit, and with former President Reagan on the call in the booth with Vin Scully, hits a leadoff home run in the All-Star game. And just astonished everyone. He was like Haley's Comet going over the sky. We got him for 3-4 years. He was incredible. And then he's gone. He's gone because of that hip replacement. He's out a year. There's never been an athlete to play with an artificial hip. Bo Jackson comes back, plays baseball, plays for the White Sox. Hits a home run in his first at bat, by the way, which is insane, with an artificial hip. Does all this stuff. but people will always and forever be hung up on, or I don't know if it's really hung up on, but just the clamor about his potential. He could have been, they said it himself. George Brett, famous Kansas City Royal, probably the greatest Kansas City Royal of all time, says Bo Jackson, if he stays in the game, he probably hits 500 home runs.
Well, yeah, and not only that, they also said in there if he doesn't get hurt, he's probably the best or greatest running back of all time too, as well. Because I mean, it was just unbelievable what he was able to do. And again, like you said, he just has such an unfortunate injury there. So I looked it up. He was 28 at the time in 1990 when I believe that injury took place. Right. So
yeah.
So it was 28 years old. I mean, that's basically right there. It would have been. People consider 28 to 32, somewhere in that range, is your prime. So who knows? I mean, he was already considered that good beforehand, and who knows where he would have went after that. And like you said, baseball as well. He probably would have had a lot better career there in the end, and got close to 500 home runs. And I mean, he would have had to sustain a pretty good career in that sense. I think for 500.
And people think he could have. He had the physical talent. He was getting it. His first year wasn't great. He stole 30 bases, by the way, in his first year, and he started in September. He got called up in September and stole 30 bases? What? What are we talking about? He would have been incredible. Just the speed, the power. He had everything. Everything. Andrew, one of the last points I want to make, I don't know if this is really crazy. I don't know if this is a hot take. I think Bo Jackson should be in both Hall of Fames. I definitely think Bo Jackson should have a spot in Canton, and I think he should have a spot in Cooperstown in both baseball and football Hall of Fame. He doesn't have the career numbers. He doesn't have the total numbers, obviously. Injuries play a part. But he changes both sports. He's incredible at both sports. It's clear that he could have been Hall of Fame in both sports. One injury knocks him down. The whole "you don't know Bo" campaign with Nike changes how people market athletes. I think his effect in baseball and football is great enough for him to merit some kind of position in the Hall of Fames. Both of them.
I agree with you. I think, like you said, he changed the game. He changed 2 games and then changed the marketing strategy. So, like you said, I mean, right there is 3 things that he did really well to change in a positive direction. Again, you said his career was shortened, but even in those shortened seasons, his numbers were still outstanding in Hall of Fame pace, like you mentioned.
I'm gonna look up the numbers right now. I need to see the totals. Do you have them in front of you?
I do. So
please tell me. I'm looking at the full body of work, but
so the interesting thing is he had a total of 2,782 rushing yards in the 4 seasons, which would have been a total of 5.4 yards per carry, about 73 per game.
5 yards a carry? That's crazy.
That's insane to maintain that over your career. I know some running backs now might have it in a season, but to maintain that, I know again it was a short career, but still to maintain that through 4 seasons is just incredible. Each season he had outside of his sophomore season, he had at least an 88-yard run or longer, which is pretty impressive. And then on top of that, his receiving numbers, they never really used him in the passing game. I don't think that was kind of the strategy in the game back then as it is now, so that kind of hurt him. But again, like you said, to average those numbers throughout 4 years is just incredible. And what it could have been if he would have kept going. People, again, consider him the best of all time if he would have had that. And as you mentioned in baseball, he had a really good chance to get the 500 home runs, which once you get that number at 500, you're pretty much a lock at the Hall of Fame. I'd say his best year in baseball was 1989 when he made the All-Star game. That year he finished with 105 RBIs and 32 home runs. So that was a pretty impressive season.
Lead All-Star vote getter too over Cal Ripken Jr. I believe no, A-Rod wasn't there, but Cal Ripken Jr. King Griffey was there. A lot of big names were there on that All-Star game.
Yeah, I believe McGuire was there too, right?
McGuire was there. I remember seeing because he was still in the A's. This was young. I don't know if it was rookie McGuire, but it looked like pre-steroids for sure. McGuire still absolutely jacked.
And I know most people nowadays who watch baseball know him because of his his managing. But Don Mattingly was there with the Yankees. He was a pretty good player. And then the Red Sox had in the film Wade Boggs. So pretty impressive class to outbeat everyone. Not even mentioning the National League case. And I think the big thing, I thought it was funny because of his speed. I would have said he would have had a leadoff spot beforehand, but he said that was the first time he ever batted leadoff in a game. And I just thought that was crazy because I know he's a bigger guy, but like with his speed, you thought someone would have put him at leadoff at some point.
I'm gonna look up Bo Jackson's stats from Auburn baseball because those stats with the metal bat.
imagine seeing one of those home runs with a metal bat.
Yeah, the most impressive. What do you think was Mo? Where was he a better player? Do you think? Do you think he was a better baseball player? Or do you think he was a better football player?
I'd say all around, I got to go football. I think he was more dominant and he could outrun guys, and then two, like use his strength and stuff to plow guys over. As we saw, what's his name? I'm blanking on the Seahawks guy's name that was talking to a bunch of smack. Brian Bosworth, I think it was.
Oh, Brian Bosworth, yeah.
Or Bosworth?
Oklahoma. Yeah, he's from Oklahoma too, which is classic, by the way.
They mentioned he's talking all that smack before the Monday night showdown of Seattle Seahawks and the LA Raiders, and it got to the point where it was a goal line stand, and Bo Jackson just completely runs him over and gets into the end zone for the touchdown. After I think he had like a 92-yard touchdown that game before that happened.
Yeah, I think that was the first carry too. He had that 92-yard touchdown where he runs up the tunnel.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I was laughing at that. He runs into the tunnel because he said he didn't want to pull a hamstring or something, slowing down.
Fair reason. Fair reason.
No, it's absolutely a fair reason. And then it's funny watching the video in there because they keep it going. So you just see like 5 teammates chasing into the tunnel after him, which I thought was pretty funny. And then, so I'd say football just because I think baseball. Now that I'm thinking of it, that throw he had.
Yeah. Oh my God!
So for those that don't know, it was a pretty good hit in the left field, goes off the wall and stops on the warning track. And I'm blanking. I don't know if you remember the runner.
Yeah, he does baseball coverage. Oh my God, I don't remember his name right now, but he's a fast runner. He's not a slow guy. Damn, he does baseball for ESPN. I'm pretty sure. Oh my goodness.
So we're blanking on the names. So give us a second. But
Morgan something, but.
So the ball's hitting left field, and he throws the ball from the wall in left field, and without a bounce, hits the catcher. They said it was Bob Boone at the time. Catches it and tags the runner out before he gets home. So to throw that ball, they even emphasized in there that was it.
Harold Reynolds, the runner.
Yes, that's it. So to throw that ball with not one bounce, that's at least 350 feet, I believe they said, from where the left field fence was. So to know how much strength and then the speed of that throw you had to get that to home in time to throw out a runner like that was just incredible. And that, I mean, they even said it's when you hear the throw, that's what most people think of nowadays. So just again, an unbelievable play there by Bo Jackson. But I'm going to lean football there though.
I think I'd agree with you. I mean, that was his main sport if he really had to pick one, I believe. But man, that throw, my goodness, that is like, I'll never get over that throw. Cause that's a fast runner from first base all the way and left field on the wall and just hits the catcher in the air. No problem. Like I think that's the craziest thing of everything in the documentary. The one physical feat that I was just blown away was that throw, because that's incredible. That's so, and even like your best major league players, your Jackie Bradley Juniors, your people like that, your best defensive players cannot make that throw A, on the air, and B, as accurately as that.
Yeah, it's just, again, it goes to show what kind of player he was and who he was. And I thought it was funny in the beginning. I mean, it had to be in the first 2 or 3 minutes when they're doing a bunch of different interviews. The amount of times they said they referred to him as a superhero, like that was just funny to me. I think the first 3 people called him a superhero, and it just shows how important he was to that era, to both games. And it was just incredible timing there.
Yeah, this is a fun documentary to watch. Shout out to Bo Jackson. I'm glad he's still out there. I hope he's still hunting deer, elk, all the many things, and making arrows in his man cave. So shout out to you, Bo Jackson. I appreciate you. You're a great specimen. Come on the show if you ever want to talk some baseball, Bo Jackson.
Or football.
Oh, your football, whatever.
Just get Bo Jackson on here, either one.
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Bo? We can talk about hunting if you want too, Bo. Just come on the show. We'll talk about anything with you. But Andrew, I think it's time to wrap things up. A shorter episode, not really, but a shorter episode for us. I'm glad that we're doing well with our timing this time around, Andrew. Do you have final thoughts? Anything you want to plug before we go?
Yeah, I was just say I got two final thoughts real quick. Sorry to make it a little longer.
No, please.
But one, we forgot to mention, on top of changing the marketing and then the 2 games at the time, how about the kind of change the video game industry as well? Kind of the first.
Yes, we didn't even talk about Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, gets the Tecmo Bowl release and stuff, and he was just, I mean, that was pretty crazy to see that in there too.
Yeah, very fun game to play. Now you can download emulators on your computers and phones, and you can play as Bo Jackson. Whoo! There's no, it's the and the best. I think you just reminded me. The best line from the movie, the best line was from Bomani Jones when he was talking about this very thing, and he said, "If he only had one play in the game, because if he had 2, it just wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair if he had 2 plays." And he's so good. I love Bo Jackson.
Yeah, this, I mean, obviously I knew a lot about him, but this kind of like emphasizes a lot of different stuff, and it was very informative too. Like the one thing, I don't know if you knew this before you watched it the first time, but how he got the nickname Bo. Like I had no idea that was how it started.
I just thought his name was Bo.
And then to find out he was throwing rocks at his minister's pigs, which would kill him. So that's how he got the name Bo.
Throwing rocks at pigs and killing them, throwing them that hard. Jesus.
Could you imagine if that happened now though? Like with media, social media and stuff, they would actually probably go in the opposite direction and making it more popular.
People were like, "What the hell? Why are you killing the pigs?" And then there'd be a certain part of the internet like, well, "Damn, well, look at that arm though. Oh my goodness."
Just incredible. And last thing about how good of an athlete he was. In high school, when he did the triple jump and high jump and track, that 13-foot jump he had,
yeah,
I mean, that was crazy when they said that much too.
Breaking all of the records.
Yeah,
every single one. I love it. Shout out to Bo Jackson forever. I hope you're out there, like I said, making your arrows. You have anything you want to plug, Andrew?
Yeah, I got again, as mentioned, as always, I do the podcast with True Philly Sports Now, and then here at Pub Sports Radio I write and do this great baseball show, so continue to check us out. And then finally Chasing the Pennant podcast as well, which is a Phillies baseball podcast.
What are you guys talking about on your Phillies baseball podcast through all this?
We've been going on through a bunch of different things. We kind of bring out different things, so we got AMA questions, kind of just getting to know us more, asking us random baseball questions or anything people want to know. So that's kind of just a fun outside of baseball kind of topic. And then originally we were kind of doing a bunch of different stuff. We had some bracket ideas we were doing. So like best Phillies of all time bracket. We got going through that. We did a best MLB uniform bracket. So kind of just finding different fun. What was that?
Who won the best uniform bracket?
The Oakland A's won.
What uniforms? Just the white, or their whole uniform set?
So yeah, basically we're doing the whole uniform set, and then I think like you were going with the best overall uniform for that team against the other best uniform. So
who's in the final?
It was the Oakland A's against the Phillies.
Wow, non-biased Philly journalism, of course. All right. Well, I'm happy to hear that, Andrew.
So yeah, we have 7 people on there, so we're doing whichever one got 4 or more votes moved on. So
7-person podcast.
I mean, we don't have 7 on there on every show, but like 7 total. So different shows, when we have 3 or 4 on, we had like obviously 3 people vote that one, and then 4 the next one to get the total of 7. But yeah, there's 7, so it kind of like rotate. Midweek shows we get one out, and then Sundays we just have as many people on, which just again, fun way to get everyone to know each other and everything.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Anything else, Andrew?
No, not really. That and two of those guys were Sean and Joe that were on the MLB draft episode.
Yeah,
So
Joe. Yeah, shout out to Joe with the deepest voice of all time. You can find me at Jose Bouquet at JOSE. I'll spell it out for everyone. BOUQUETT. Follow Pub Sports Radio on all platforms. The Instagram. You've got the freaking Twitter machine. We've got everything there. Subscribe on YouTube. That'd be a good time. Baseball's back, everyone, and be happy that it is. We've come a long way, but we're almost there, Andrew. We're almost there.